Hi, my name is Usman, and in today's video training of Python, we will be looking at a concept of Python scope. A variable is only available from inside the region it is created. This is called scope. Now let's look at different types of scope in Python. The first one we are going to look at is called local scope. A variable created inside a function belongs to the local scope of that function and can only be used inside that function. A variable created inside a function is available inside that function. Let's look at an example and do this in practical. Let's go to PyCharm. That's our default Python editor. Let's create a function def myfuncs, and let's define a variable inside the function and give it a value 500, and then let's print this variable inside that function. Now let's come outside the function and call that function myfunc. Okay, now let's run the program. You see we have 500 on the console output. So basically the variable that was defined inside the myfunc function is a local variable and it is available inside the function. Let's try to directly access the local variable in the my function outside the function. So let's say print x and let's run the program. You see we have got an error, name x is not defined, because the variable x is unknown outside the function as it is a local variable. Now let's look at the next concept, that is function inside function scope. As explained in the previous example, the variable x is not available outside the function, but it is available for any function inside the function. The local variable can be accessed from a function within the function. Def my function x300, def my inner function print x, my inner function, and then call my function outside the function scope. Now let's do this in coding and see the output. Okay, let's clean this up. Define a new function, myfunc. Okay, and let's define a variable, let's say 400. Let's define an inner function, my inner function, and let's say print x, and let's call this function my inner function, and let's come outside the my function scope and call my function, and let's run the program. You see we have got 400 on the console output. Basically the function, inner function that was defined inside the main function can access the x variable that is local for myfunc, but it is also available for the inner function of the parent function. Now let's look at the next important concept in scope, that is called global scope. A variable created in the main body of the Python code is a global variable and belongs to the global scope. Global variables are available from within any scope, global and local. A variable created outside of a function is global and can be used by anyone. So let's see that in example. Okay, clean this up. Let's define a global variable, let's say 100. Now let's define a function myfunc, and let's try to access the global variable within this function, and let's run the my function program. And sorry, my bad, there is a typo. I forgot to add c in the my function. Now let's run the program again, and you can see we have 100 on the console output. So basically x is defined outside the body of the my function, and this is called a global variable, and it is accessible all across the program that we are running. So it can be used by any function and can be utilized as per requirement. The next topic is naming variables. If you operate with the same variable name inside and outside of a function, Python will treat them as two separate variables, one available in the global scope outside the function and one available in the local scope inside the function. So let's do some coding and see this in action. Let's clean this up. Let's define a global variable, let's say 900. Now let's define a function and let's define a global variable with the same name as the let's define a local variable with the same name as the okay, so we are going to define a local variable with the same name within the function, and let's print x here and let's print x here and let's call the function here. Now let's execute the program. Okay, now you can see we have got 900 on the console output and then we have 500 on the console output. So when we executed the statement print x, it printed out the value of a global variable, that is 900. And when we called the my function, it printed out the value from within the my function x variable, that is the local variable, which is 500. So basically Python distinguished both of these variables as global and local, even their names were same. The next important thing to know about global keyword is if you need to create a global variable but are stuck in the local scope, you can use the global keyword. The global keyword makes the variable global. If you use the global keyword, the variable belongs to the global scope. So let's see this in action. Let's clean this up. Let's define a function. Let's define a variable with the global keyword. Let's give it a value 900. Now let's try to access the x variable that is defined within the my function. Now let's run the program. Okay, there is a syntax error. Basically we cannot define and declare global variable on the same line, so this should be global x. The second line we give it a value x is equal to 900. Let's run the program again. Okay, still we have an error that says name is x is not defined. So what we have to do is we have to call the function one time before printing out the variable value. So let's run the program and you can see we have 900 on the console output, which is the value of global x variable that is defined in the my function. Well, this can also be, let's try this. Okay, global x, and let's run the program. Okay, you see we have got invalid syntax error, so this should be like this. Now we run the program and we are good. Okay, the last concept in this video training is about if you want to make change to a global variable inside a function. To change the value of a global variable inside a function, refer to the variable by using the global keyword. So let's see this in action. Let's clean this up. Let's define a global variable, let's say 300, and let's define a function, my func, and let's say global x, and change the value of x variable to 200. Now let's call my function and print the value of x. You see we have got 200 on the console output because we changed the value of global variable x to 200 within the my function. Let's see what happens if I don't call the my function before printing out the value of global variable x. You see we have got 300, so it's necessary to call the my function before printing out the value of global variable to change its value to 200. That's it for this video training in Python. I hope you have understood the concept of scope in Python. If you liked this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you next time with a new topic in Python. Take care.